bronze drivers. And yeah, unfortunately for them at the time, the car we're looking at, 85, the Iron Dome, they weren't in Hyperpole. So yeah, Sarah Bovey still at the wheel, like you say, Jim, and so that's the bronze driver in the Iron Dome. So Ben has done his time. You know, it goes without saying, of course, the pro drivers, the platinums, the golds, they do have a natural speed advantage still over Ben Keating. You know, only joke when I say he's gold status. He's not. You know, he's just a fine bronze driver, and he really has made a difference though today. He's not single-handedly, of course, but he's clawed back and got that car from barely even being on the timing page. I mean, it's bottom of the second timing page.
I think it's about fighting your individual battles. So, you know, it's when he's against the other bronzes, can he win that battle against the other bronzes?
Yeah.
And he can. And I think it's the same with the golds against the other golds, or the silvers against silvers.
Let's check in with the pit lane and Louise Beck.
Well, unfortunately, it's not looking good for Peugeot at this hour. The 94 is in the garage. I think you've seen that. The team are working hard on that. But they've just cleared, that's the steering rack, apparently. And they've just cleared the 93 garage area. It looks like that one is coming in as well. I can't speak to the team at the moment, but when I get any more info, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting, wouldn't it, to find out how long that steering rack change would be. I mean, it doesn't seem like it can be done in a blink of an eye at all. It sounds like pretty hefty work to me, but and you know, with that, are they even considering changing the steering rack?
Having said that, Michael Jensen has just set as fast as 71 in the Peugeot.
More vibration issues being reported for the Toyota. This time it's Brendan Hartley. He definitely wants to get off those boots at this point.
Well, that's the thing, you know, even if you don't suffer any lockups and flat spots, you can easily end up getting your tyres out of balance, just the way they naturally wear. And so the longer you take them in, you know, 3 stints, maybe even 4 stints, it's pretty natural to get some vibrations, particularly through the fronts, because that you feel that through the steering, rather than the seat of your pants with the rear tyres. You feel the rear tyres vibrations a lot less than the front tyres.
I was going to say before the camera switched to something else that one of the things also about Ben Keating, and we just saw it right there, and that's what made me remember it, is his enthusiasm is infectious. So even if the team is down, had some trouble, I'm sure he's the kind of guy that, okay, boys, we can do this, and then goes out and throws down some really fast laps. Like, see, we're all in this. Follow me.
He's got that American
the gates of hell, my brothers, and not abandon you.
Yeah, that American can-do attitude. You know, it is infectious. You're absolutely right, and that's what you need within a car crew. You need somebody. You know, it's that relationship. You need to, when you're down, you need someone else sometimes to pick you back up, and every team member has their chance to do that, and that's part of the joy of Le Mans and sports car racing in general. It's not a selfish game. It's not, you're not out there alone. As you see now, the 93 getting pushed back in.
As Louise predicted, that car going back into the garage while the steering rack work continues. Now, some teams will tell you that the steering rack could take as much as 3 hours.
So they did this earlier on. They took the bodywork off, and then they were blowing cool air. So it's almost like it was getting too hot, so they're trying to cool it down.
When the car's stationary at the end of the pit lane, I've heard it myself, where it makes this incredible high-pitch noise. It's almost like radio interference or something. And I asked one of the drivers, what's that noise about? Is it like there's a motor whirring or something inside? Is it something to do with the hybrid system, or what is it? And they said, no, it's to do with the power steering. Wow. And that was a long time. I mean, that was last year. I think Monza last year I noticed it. Whether it still does that or not, I don't know. But yeah, I just thought, at the time I thought that sounded odd.
See the suspension and the brakes working on that Corvette.
And also the aerodynamic effects as well.
Yeah.
All the rain that we've had and the dirt that gets spread over the bodywork. Very cool.
Model makers take hours trying to perfect that patina when they're going to make a car that has got the dirt on it.
Yeah. I'm sure that's one of the cool things about Le Mans is that afterwards, the winning car is tradition to just leave the dirt, all the damaged bodywork, flies, everything. Yeah.
The battle scars.
Yeah. And I think Audi even lacquered the car over.
Yeah, I heard that.
So yeah.
What did they do to your one, guy?
Oh, there's a story behind that.
In your garage, is it?
No, there's a story behind that. They actually wanted to keep it, as you said, with all the battle scars on, and he went to a show, and somebody cleaned it.
You're joking.
They went to a car show, and somebody cleaned the car.
Oh, we can't have
because it looked dirty. No, no. And you can't. It's not like something you can fake and just let's throw some flies and some dust on it, make it look dirty.
Oh dear.
So it's still got a few battle scars, but it's hasn't quite got the full war paint on it.
Here comes that driver change for the Iron Dames. It'll be Michel Gatting getting in, Sarah Bove getting out.
So yeah, like I said earlier on, guys, so the driver becomes driver helper in GTs, and you can see the shoulder straps going on into place and buckled in, and then they also do the radio as well. I've seen on the outside edge of the seat, like where the headrest is.
Quite often, yeah, you have the radio on actually into the seat because it's obviously it's accessible that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. These girls have done fantastic again all day. They've been fighting all through this 24 hours, but you just can't help but feel that the sort of balance has swung now towards the Corvette. It's worked its way up to the front, and it seems to have been the quicker car.
It's going to take some beating.
Yeah, especially now that we've got the pros in the car. I think it's going to be Jean Verone and Katzberg, very very quick two drivers.
I mean, there's getting pole position, and we've all said, it doesn't really mean anything in Le Mans anyway. It's just a little bit of showboating. But when you see the margin that Ben Keating took hold by, well over a second, you think, okay, if they can have a reliable car, surely when he's in a car, like you said, guys, when it's bronze for bronze,
he's got the advantage.
He's got a massive advantage, and I think that's what he's had around here. Usually, they're fairly evenly matched. We've seen that with Sarah Bove all year long, actually, in qualifying in the World Endurance Championship. First 3 rounds we've had. It always comes down to those, pretty much down to those two in quali, and it's separated by a few tenths, and the race, in WEC they have to start the race as well, the bronze drivers. So, and it's always a bit of a showdown between those two. But not here. It seems like Ben's just had the advantage the whole time.
And the other thing that was interesting about Hyperpole was that he had the pole sewn up and went back out and just, hold my beer, I can beat that. And basically did. I mean,
not just beat, thrashed.
Yeah.
Annihilated his own lap time. So, yeah, look, the car is clearly hooked up. But bad luck certainly struck them at the start of this race. But my goodness, since then, more than taken the fight to the rest of the field, and now head them with, what have they got? About a minute lead, yeah.
13 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Europol, again, doing a great job, 21 seconds ahead of the WRT car. So, just maintaining that lead.
I was going to say, that's kind of how, that's pretty much level out. That's pretty much staying constant.
So is the 17-second margin between Collado and Hartley out in front. But since we've been talking about the GTs and other categories and Peugeot's problems, it was 17 seconds. It still is.
It's kind of like half a second a lap, just chipping away, just adding a little bit each time, just that little bit quicker, and gradually building that lead up. So I think Hartley will be keen to get these tyres off and get some new tyres on and see what pace he's got and go about trying to close that gap down to Collado.
How does Ferrari answer at this point if they do start to show some speed with those new tires? Do they just stick to their tire strategy?
I I think at this stage you've got to stick to the plan. It really depends if Hartley comes back with some real pace and it's a concern and the speed in which is catching, then they will have to go for the tyres or be a bit more aggressive. But I can't help but think that they've still got that advantage. Even with the older tyres, they still seem to have the pace. So
it does. So the start of the race, you know, obviously not as much rubber down as there is now. Slightly different wind condition. Cars in a bit of a different state. They've taken a bit of a beating, all of them out there. But the Toyota more than held its own at the start of the race when we were in the hottest conditions. We're now back into the hottest conditions at 1:15 in the afternoon here. So hotter conditions. The sun's actually out. It's probably warmer now than it was at the start of the race actually. And I feel like that's where the Toyota's at its best. Now they're on the medium tyres, and you would naturally expect the Ferrari on pressure tyres to be edging away.
Is there any advantage, and I certainly wouldn't expect them to do this for 2 hours before the race together, but on the last stint, if they're close, you know, if they're almost to single digits, maybe they're only 11 seconds back or something like that, is it worth throwing a set of softs on and trying to get it, or is it a misnomer that the softs are going to get you more speed even if they don't last?
So the softs, I mean, it's more complex than that. The softs are, it's not necessarily just soft, medium and hard in terms of compound. It's there's heat element to it as well. So you can have a soft higher temperature tyre or a soft lower temperature tyre. We've got a team radio here from Hartley first.
Copy. Okay, Brendan, box this lap, pit confirm, box this lap, pit confirm. Vibrations are not a concern from the number side.
So the team can see.
Hands, though.
Yeah, exactly. So the driver has to relay the information. Obviously, he's concerned that it might be damaging the car. So the driver can take quite a bit of vibration through the body, in the hands, whatever. But he's more concerned for the car. And there's still 2 hours, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Why is this doing it?
I don't want this thing to shake itself to bits. So I relay the information, you look where you need to on the data, they have the load cells through the suspension, and they can see and report back to the driver, don't worry, it looks good, we can take a certain amount of frequency, and it's well within that at the moment. So chill out, it's cool, just carry on driving as fast as you can, but if it's hindering lap times, we'll bring you in, we'll get you on another set. When the time comes, which I think we can't see the energy levels at the moment, but I assume they're getting to a point where...
they told you to box this lap.
This lap. So they'll change the tyres, and I suspect they'll keep him in the car. That seems to be the plan.
But I didn't know whether it was because of the energy level, like the fuel level, or because of the vibration. That's the thing I need to confirm. So I assume it's the energy levels. So yeah, he'll get on a different set and he'll be fine. But
Louise confirms from the pits that it's mediums that will be going on the number 8 car as Hartley comes in. We saw the 3 car come in and make their pit stop. No driver change there. So Brendan Hartley will stay in. The fuel goes in. Going to take a tear off the windscreen. Up there you can see just above the wheel levels, little white tabs just going off the top of the screen there. That's where they reach around and pull off one of the tear-offs. 12 per windscreen. And the windscreens come to the track where those are already applied. So the tear-off request has been answered. He wanted a towel and some water. Energy gel.
He took some energy gel as well. Yeah,
that stuff's... That's better living.
Well, I heard a story about AJ Foyt, the Daytona 24 Hours, and he came in, he asked for a burger and a Coke, and he came in and he literally had a swig of Coke, left the pit lane with a burger in his hand, and apparently when he came at the end of his stint, it's like mustard all down his white overalls. Some ketchup.
You think he's kidding?
No, I don't think I mean, you can imagine.
I'm surprised if it had a wrapper, if the last thing that didn't come out of the car before the door went down was the wrapper.
That's amazing. Very different. I mean, that's the only thing missing from that NASCAR car entry.
Okay, Brendan, new set of mediums on the car. Go get them.
That's the message you want.
Yeah, exactly. A minute and 41 seconds down at this point, but obviously that will change drastically when the 51 car, James Collado, has to come in for his pit stop. So this is that classic racing, the in-lap, the out-lap. You know, this is tough. Yeah, this is tough. Especially this time of the race.
Absolutely.
22, 21 and a half hours in. Yeah.
It's hot out there. You're sweating. You feel it running down your face, inside the helmet. You're so tired. You're drained. You've got nothing left. But somewhere within you, you have to dig even deeper in these moments to try and find that lap time that you know the car can do.
But probably the only better radio transmission you're going to get from your engineer is that you're the winner, then go get him. In this day and age of, oh, we need to save fuel, or we need to conserve this, or don't do that, and easy on this, no, go get him.
It's a head game.
Yeah.
You know, you've got two cars very evenly matched in performance, very evenly matched, and you've got two drivers very evenly. It comes down to a head game.
And box this lap, driver change.
Driver change, Collado will come out. Interesting, two American voices as lead engineers on these cars.
Yeah, he's been a bit of a revelation this year to us in the World Endurance Championship. Justin Taylor, the Car 51's engineer, he's come out with some quality quotes.
Is he former Audi? Is he Audi, I think, before?
I believe he was.
He was.
Then he's doing IndyCar as well, I think.
Yep. And he was kind of an understudy to embarrassed. Here's some more radio.
Radio, drinks tube, radio.
A slice of pizza.
So, so I mean, you get reminded, obviously, when you come down the pit lane to detach the radio and remember your belts as well, because when your car stops, you need to loosen them before you unbuckle, so that the next driver getting in isn't compromised with the seatbelt still in the tight position, because the driver helper won't be able to buckle them in. So all those things can really hold you back. You see there, Giovinazzi in, and he's pulling down on the shoulder straps, getting himself comfortable, making sure they're on the hands device in the right way. You don't want them slipping underneath the hands device or twisting in any way. You don't want anything to compromise your focus.
And with the Ferrari bit at the beginning of the pit lane, it gives you the option to be able to tighten your belts while you go down the pit lane. You can tighten them up.
Brendan reporting that the car feels much better with these tires, so maybe he flat spotted them or something like that. The name I was trying to get, guy helped me get, Brad Kettler. He was an understudy of Brad Kettler at Audi.
Yep. Champion Racing.
Yes, right.
So you asked me earlier on, Jim, about why wouldn't you put the set of soft tyres? So Brendan is obviously on the mediums, as is Giovinazzi. And the reason for that is it's a high-speed circuit. I mean, there's only one or two relatively slow corners, Arnage and Mulsanne. On a high-speed circuit, you get a lot of movement within the shoulder of the tyre. The softer tyre, in its construction by nature, flexes around a lot more, and it spooks the driver.
It's part of what makes it soft.
Exactly. It's just basically more squidgy. So that's why they put it on in the wet, damp conditions. It's your best chance of survival in those lower temperatures, and because you need the pliable nature of the tyre to be there. It heats itself up, a bit like a squash ball. You whack it against the wall and it heats up. Physically, it heats up through the kinetic energy, and that's what the tyres are doing. But the hotter it gets, ambient and track, and the faster you can go, and the less moisture on the track there is, you can then afford to start running a stiffer construction tyre, i.e. the mediums, or a stiffer compound.
And effectively, that gives you more of a platform, so when you're in the corner, in the porch corners, the tyre is a little bit stiffer, the shoulder tyre is a little bit more solid. So you can feel, effectively, it's almost like feeling the grip, because when the tyre is moving, that's when the car feels like it's swerving around, and it doesn't feel like it's taking a set.
It makes your contact patch bigger, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So after the exchange of pit stops, it's now 16 seconds. So Brendan Hartley's outlaps and his time on those new tires. Let's see how Giovinazzi can respond as he is about halfway through his outlap.
Oh, come on, Jim, let's dramatise this bit. It's 15.8 seconds. Come on, let's get into the drivers' heads here. 50, no, forget it, let's just call it 15 seconds. Brendan, you're 15 seconds behind.
I used to tell our announcers in the United States when somebody says, well, that's, you know, they pretty much got this in the bag, and be like, well, that loud click you heard was everybody turning off to go with lights up.
Exactly.
Not in this case. Nobody will be going anywhere. This is going to be right down 2.5 hours remaining in the centenary celebration of Le Mans, the 91st running, the 100th anniversary. 1923 was the first time that they got together to try and prove the automobile and prove that the innovations and that the technology was safe and that the automobile was going to be reliable. Well, we're doing the same thing today. It's all about innovation. 100 years later, the first fully subscribed year for the hypercar here at Le Mans, and they have delivered. They have delivered. The front of the field boasts Ferrari, Toyota, 2 Cadillacs, a Porsche, 2 Glickenhauses, a Ferrari, and a Peugeot, all in the top 9. So, absolutely stellar first time out here at Le Mans for a full hypercar field. Not the first time for hypercars, but clarify, full time for the hypercar field.
Yeah, literally all of the major manufacturers, Ferrari, Toyota, Cadillac, Porsche, Peugeot, have all had a chance to lead this race.
That's something I didn't think we would see. Honestly speaking, in this event, the centenary, I didn't think, based on what we've seen so far in the World Endurance Championship, you wouldn't have put money on the fact of that happening. So I joked earlier on when I said that the first 2 hours of the race, I thought, I don't think I can keep up doing this for 24 hours. It was like a sprint race. It was changing positions all the way through.
33 car out of the lead of GTM, driver change, Nicholas Veroni out, Nicky Katzberg in.
And they show you how it's done, don't they?
Yeah.
The Corvette garage crew, they really show you how it's done.
This year it's a combination of not only the Pratt & Miller guys, but some of the Labra competition guys, who for many years were kind of the European answer to Pratt & Miller in the United States with the Corvette when it was the C6 models, but the C8 here is the C8R is being run by a combination this year.
So Romain Dumas in the Glickenhaus is just on a 3:29.5, so it's a pretty impressive lap time. You know, not a million miles away from the rest of the hypercar. So you know, well done to those guys.
And that guy doesn't give up. I don't care if he's racing here in the Glickenhaus or he's in a Galaxy 300 at Goodwood Revival. He does not give up. And there you see handshakes all around for Nicholas Veroni.
That's a great feeling. You know, that car, the whole crew is high-fiving you.
I suspect he's done.
Well, yeah, done, but also, you know, that is job well done.
Yes.
You know, there's no better feeling than that. And, you know, that marks the difference, really, for me, and highlights exactly what sports car racing is all about. That real family feeling within the team. You can share that emotion with your other teammates as well, and success is trebled in that way.
Yeah. And it all, as we said before, it goes back to the attitude of the team leader. But not only that, that is the, you know, you used to see the same thing when it was the full factory effort. You know, with Dan Binks and the guys in the Corvette squad. That was the kind of reception that the drivers would get after a job well done. There's our LMP2 leader, the Inter-Europol competition entry, number 34. Albert Costa behind the wheel of that car. They have had a running race with the team WRT. Robert Kubica, number 41, for, gosh, at least the last 8 hours or so. There have been others that have tried to come up and challenge. Paul Chetan now is in 3rd place in the number 48 car for the EDEC Sport. And the other team that's been been right there in the hunt for the podium has been Neil Yanni in the Duquesne team, number 30. But everybody's been chasing 34 and 41 for the last little bit. And it continues on with just under 2.5 hours remaining.
I wonder if they'll ever change their car back to that luminous yellow and green concept that they had the whole time. More like their garage hoardings, actually.
Yes, yeah.
That's the colours that they have been running.
But that's the color of the other car. Remember, they started 2 cars in this race.
Yeah, but usually the solid coloured car
the white
is the luminous yellow, and yellow. I always felt like it really clashed, and I do prefer this. Tell you what, if they win this thing, they're never going back on those colours. That's the difference right there, surely.
I think the only people in the sports world who are more superstitious than race car people are NHL hockey.
Really? Oh yeah.
You make the playoffs, you're not allowed to shave until you get knocked out of the playoffs. So all these guys look like lumberjacks by the end of the playoffs.
So they're going to
wear the same set of socks until they fall apart. I mean, it's insane.
The car's going to grow a beard, and they're never going to change back from that golden yellow colour. Still 2 hours 25 minutes to go though, and there is the competition. The number 41 WRT. Behind its sister car actually, 31, that is in where?
One is fifth,
yeah.
Not that far off the hunt.
Wow.
Robert Freund's. There's the Jonas squad. They had such high hopes. At one point, they were leading overall, and they were leading LMP2, and what an accomplishment that would have been. But it's going to be an accomplishment just to get these 2 cars to the finish line, as they have those crew guys. They're going to deserve their post-race adult beverages after this one, because they sure have earned it.
And at the front, the Ferrari and the Toyota, the gap now is 15 seconds. It's pretty much kind of been 15 seconds for, well, since they did the pit stops. It's maybe gone down to sort of 13, 14 and back to 15. So Hart is not really making any inroads into Giovinazzi's lead at the minute.
Doesn't seem to be. Last lap both with 3:28. High 28 for Brendan. Slightly lower 28 for Giovinazzi, and it's really, you're in the hands of the traffic. I feel that the 2 cars are so evenly matched on pace at this point in the race that you can have, as we often said as drivers, you can have the golden stint, where every car you come up, you just overtake in a straight line. Yeah, and you get the slipstream off them as well for good measure. You come in and go, honestly, I had the golden stint. I always used to joke with Boemi about it, and him too. You won't believe it, man. I had the golden stint. okay, don't worry about the fast lap times. It's not me, it was the traffic.
And then there's the stint where traffic just appears from nowhere.
Yes. Every time. Every high speed corner. They're in. That's what you pray for when you're inside the car. You're constantly thinking, okay, well, I've overtaken another car here. That was a good one. Well, I've overtaken a semi-bad one there, but I wonder what the other car in the front's going through. Hopefully they're having it worse than I am.
Like the battle at the front that has kind of settled out at 15 seconds. This battle here in LMP2 has settled out at 22 seconds. There you see the Lodge livery.
It's amazing when you're in traffic how you become a mind reader, because you're always thinking, what are they thinking? Yeah, I always try to put yourself in the car ahead's position, and what are they thinking? What are they going to do? Because you're trying to second guess all the time. What are they going to do? And I'm going to do the opposite.
And you're constantly hearing the gap. If you're Giovinazzi, you're hearing Hartley behind 14.5 seconds, and Hartley will be hearing the opposite of that, and how much further ahead the car is, and you're trying to assess, okay, right, I've caught the gap a little bit there, but I was a bit lucky in traffic, so maybe that's because they were a little bit more unlucky than me that time around. And then you hear the next lap, and the gap creeps up a little bit. You go, no, okay, my traffic wasn't so bad. That means that it was traffic the lap before for him. Oh no, I'm not quite as fast compared to him as I thought I was. And you're constantly going through that thought process in the car.
This is our 3rd place car in LMP2. You may recognize the badge on the nose of that car, Delage. If you're student of history here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That is a nameplate that dates all the way back to the beginnings of the French motor industry and the early days of this great race in the 20s and 30s. Here's your fourth place car in the class, the Team Duquesne car with Neil Yanni behind the wheel. Understand Neil is going to be moving on from this ride to the Proton Porsche, which is a great opportunity for him to get back inside get back in a Porsche. I'm sure he'll bring a lot of experience to that team. A lot of prototype experience.
Yeah, an awful lot of prototype experience. And the number 30 car there, as you say, Jim Duquesne. Meanwhile, Matthias Kaiser has had a bit of a shortish stint in the Vector Sport number 10. And it's now Gabby Aubrey behind the wheel of that car. And he's in now until the end of the race.
I think with Neil Yanni, ex-Porsche factory driver, the links that he has with Porsche will help smooth the way with the Proton team and that kind of development path.
I think they, Proton themselves, as you all know, have great links to Porsche themselves. But what he, I think, will add to that is the prototype.
And also, I saw that Proton are going to be the first customer of the Ford GT3 for the Mustang. So,
really?
Yeah. So they're going to be running so they could potentially have the Porsche in the hypercar and the Mustang in GT3.
Do you think we'll see a Ford hypercar if we're going to see a Ford GT3? Here comes the
93 back out. Much faster change than we feared.
Yeah. Now is that the one that had the steering?
Yeah, it is. Okay. So out they go. Great. Good team effort there by Proto.
They both had enough problems. They're starting to get confused.
Yeah, that's probably not what the team were going for this race, but
sorry,
I did fear though, and I'm sure the team felt the same, that they've been riddled with lots of different reliability problems so far this year, and well, since their comeback to sports car racing, frontline sports car racing, and so yeah, I didn't expect them to be quite as reliable in many ways as they've been, let alone the pace that they've had. There is Gabby Aubrey, that I spoke about earlier on, in the number 10 Vector Sport, gets lapped by the number 50 Ferrari with Nick Nielsen. He started this race. Did Nick? He was in the LMP2 category, of course, last year in the AF Corsa. Sean, he had an early pole position, made a real name for himself, and here he is now.
No, we just a few minutes ago had a very interesting discussion that I thought was a great explanation from you, Anthony and Guy, about the soft tire, and then we see the LMP2 car. The graphic came up and showed that they were, as we see the Camaro, the number 24 car, having some work done. Looks like that's almost exploratory, like they're trying to figure out what might be going on, as opposed to trying to fix what they know is going on.
I wonder why it dropped down the order now in 39, because it sits in the pits getting lapped.
Gearbox is what we're hearing, a gearbox issue. So that's going to be stressed on that car. But my point.
Sorry, Jim. While we're still on that car, just a question for all the fans that don't follow NASCAR. So obviously the ovals, you're not really changing gear that much. But what about street? How long is a street course race for those competitors?
Probably a couple hundred kilometers.
Like an hour?
Oh no, more than that.
More than an hour?
2.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
So like the length of a Grand Prix or something?
A little bit longer. A little bit longer than a Grand Prix.
But no way as long as it's just done.
No.
So it's quite a good proving ground for it then to come here. In
24 hours, this thing has probably lasted 8 cup races.
Right.
So,
And how long would they usually keep the gearbox in. Do they have restrictions on that in the series? No,
Well, it's just whatever your maintenance plan is. I'm sure a new one comes at every event. That sort of thing. But like you say, I mean, on an oval, depending on the oval, certainly on the super speedways, they're very seldom shifting. But on the mile and a half, there's a lot of times you'll shift. Certainly on the short tracks, there's a little bit more shifting. But like you say, not like it is here.
So Brendan Hartley now has just done the fastest lap of the number 8 on a 327.8, and the gap's now down to 11.8. So he's starting to chip away now at that lead and make some inroads.
We've got a race in our hands.
Yeah, here we go. 2 hours and 16 minutes to go. Just to put finish what I was trying to say, we saw the graphic come up of the LMP2 car with hard tires on it. Now, what we need to point out is that they are not Michelin's. They are Goodyear. So Goodyear comes at this from a completely different standpoint. It's a controlled tire. So they really just have kind of a soft and a hard. They don't have that medium option.
Yeah, exactly, Jim. So, controlled tyre, like you say, you could go out and buy those tyres if you're racing. You can buy them, you can keep them. The technology is still very high, but it's there's no tyre war in LMP2. It's probably the reason
that gets expensive.
Yeah, exactly. It's to keep costs down. It is they have the monopoly there as a tyre manufacturer. In many ways for good reason, because it's a privateer category. It should be a privateer category with amateur drivers paying their way to go racing, and so it makes a lot of sense. You just have the one slick tyre, the one wet tyre, and they brand it as a hard tyre. It's a nice bit of marketing as well, and it's great for them that they have LMP2 as their category. So it's great to have Goodyear involved, of course, for the World Endurance Championship. But the tyres that we see on this car, number 8, the Michelin's, you can't go and buy those tyres. There's a lot of tech in there, and
and if one comes apart, the engineers are out there looking for the pieces. Afterwards,
these things they're actually not going to go missing.
Technically, they're a confidential tyre, so they actually the teams have to sign a contract to basically say that they will not. Every
like
tyre
an
has to be, the tyre has to be returned because they've got all their tech and their IP in that tyre, and the last thing they want is that to go to another manufacturer. So
proprietary information. Now here we go. We talked earlier. I asked kind of.
Tyre. So they actually the teams have to sign a contract to basically say that they will not. Every
like
tyre
an
has to be, the tyre has to be returned because they've got all their tech and their IP in that tyre, and the last thing they want is that to go to another manufacturer. So
proprietary information. Now here we go. We talked earlier. I asked kind of maybe it was a silly question. I don't know how much it bothers you when the car that's a couple laps down is behind you, harassing you. Well, now the tables have turned. The 50 car is now ahead of the 8 car. The 8 car is catching the 50 car. How wide is this Ferrari suddenly going to become?
Probably about as wide as the circuit.
as wide as the blue flags will allow. That's, I mean, you gotta be careful, but you can make life a little bit difficult.
This is still the next driver. Be careful if you put too much brake pressure at 4 feet, you want to brake. You have to be careful about the ventilation. Otherwise you lock the rear brake if you push the pedal too hard.
Great information.
So, Brendan referring to turn 14. I believe, unless they've changed things since I was there, turn 14 for them, unlike our turn 20, is the Mulsanne corner. Where he had the rear locking. So it makes sense to me. So that's every team I've ever driven for has their own references for which corner numbers or names they give around here. So we go by the ACO and FIA's version of the track. So for us, it's turn 20.
But that's very interesting to me as a layman. That tell the next driver, be careful of brake modulation, and that's the kind of things you might talk about. Those are the things you might talk about on an old driver exchange.
Well,
but now
it might
got to be done over the radio.
It might be that, you know, we've seen before that under braking, the car's maybe stepped out as he braked into Mulsanne corner, and he's just basically warning the next guy that this might catch you out. The last thing he wants to do is not warn him, and the next driver has an issue.
Let's hear from Nick Nielsen.
That Toyota is coming behind. We'd like to stay in front. They will ask for blue flag soon, so let's push as much as you can for those last 3 laps. And we stay in front of that Toyota. Let's give it all.
So there's your answer.
Yeah, I mean, stay in front, but within reason. Within the allowance of what the blue flags...
Which is much different. Stay in front is a much different command than don't let him by.
Exactly, and you know, there's no... It's not like single-seater racing where you've got huge wings that get affected from even this far back, but right not. You can get a lot closer than that. This now switches to the car 51 with Giovinazzi, to be confused with the number 50 car that's further down the road. 11 seconds down the road.
Nicholas Nielsen behind the wheel of the 50. So out on the racetrack right now, we've got Antonio Giovinazzi leading in the 51. Brendan Hartley trying to chase him down 11 seconds back. And then in the Cadillacs, Richard Westbrook is in the 2 car. Renger van der Zande is in the 3 car. That's Christophe Bouchou and Renger van der Zande. Doesn't get much better than that. Frank Makovici is in the number 5 car. Romain Dumas is in the 708, 709, Daniel Patton, and Mikael Jensen is in the number 93 Peugeot.
And when you said about the maps, the circuit maps, quite often, well, most of the time actually, the team will print out a little map and they'll put it inside the car, whether it be on the steering wheel or... And then whenever I've had it where people have sat in the car, they've seen this little map of the circuit, say Le Mans for argument's sake, and they were like, why have you got a map? Do you not know where you're going? Do you not know where the circuit goes? And basically, it's for that very reason, because when you're discussing the circuit to the engineers, they may, it's to make sure that we're all calling the corners the same. So if they say it's 10-10, I look on the map and I know where they make. Or if I've got an issue and the car's stopped, they know where we're all talking from the same page.
Yes, it's more so for, you know, when you're in the garage and you're doing a debrief between a free practice session or during a free practice session when you're back in the garage.
You can even point if you need to.
Yeah, and the engineer's got the circuit map usually just passed on their laptop somewhere, and so yeah, you're referring to the same corners, but yeah, the reason you have it in the car for the race is, like say, Guy, if you had a mechanical failure, like we saw with Kobayashi, due to that, still can't believe it's out of the race from what happened. For those of you that missed it, the dead of the night, there was a next slow zone on the run up towards Tête Rouge, and he was about to overtake a slow-moving AM driver in the LMP2 car. So it's after this sequence of corners here, the S's on the straight towards Tête Rouge. Kobayashi goes to overtake the LMP2, realises he's in a next slow. At this point here, slams on the brakes. 2 racy LMP2 cars come up behind him, one from Guido van der Garde in the 39 car, and there was an unfortunate GT Ferrari that was in the number 66. He got completely smashed into the back from van der Garde. Sent the car flying. The Ferrari, as a result, smashed into Kobayashi.
6 to 9 kilometer long circle. There's no doubt that sometimes the circle gives you a lot of difficulties.
We're not going to see rain at the end of this race, are we, TJ?
No, let's not expect them now. No, but they certainly blew the race quite open. I mean, even last night the Porsche were leading in many of the times. So to have all the cars leading at one stage, that's pretty remarkable. But I think we have to thank the conditions for that.
9 different leaders from all the different constructors of the hybrid hypercar category. Must be more than we've seen in many, many years. If you have to go back to 2010, the last time we had more cars in the leading category at the Le Mans 24 hours. And even then, there was probably only 5 or 6 that could really take victory.
Yeah. And it was the big battle, obviously, with Peugeot, Audi and Peugeot, joined then by Toyota, and then Porsche came along to the table as well, and right at the front.
Quick look at the United Autosports 22 car. This car was driven into the side of a Porsche pretty early on in the race, and so we've not really seen the style performance of the win. What to expect from the United Autosports, the 22 car in the LMP2 category. We did check out in with the 23 car on track. Tom Brentford back aboard that car, having had a trip to the fuel sensor after an incident going into the Porsche curves, the G sensor going off, bringing the car in, needing to bring the car into
0.6 seconds behind. 9.8.
There and doing on their particular attempt at this Le Mans 24 hours for 2023.
And no matter how good your crew is, once the car's been in the wall, it's never the same again. Something feels.
I started to wake him up, and although he's doing a brilliant job anyway, but this is the fire that he needs to fuel him on in his bid to try and catch Giovinazzi.
And that's only 0.2 of a second off the fastest lap of the race by the Ferrari of Nielsen. So they're finding some pace in the late stages here. They've really kind of, as you say, got the bit between the teeth, and the fight is on.
Definitely seems so. I wonder which drivers they have left to cycle through. I think it's going to be Ryo Hirakawa in the car next, but you never know. If the team feel like Seb is the one to bring it home and take this fight to Ferrari, then you can always adjust your plans and do whatever it takes, basically.
I think this is Hartley's fourth stint now in the car, I believe, so he's doing a great job.
Yes, it is. Remember, they came on and asked him if he could physically do it, and he says, I sure can. Now he is, and here we go.
Yeah, you start needing blue flags now at this moment.
Yeah.
Where he was before, he wasn't getting affected by the dirty. For a fair fight, I think the stewards have to do the right thing. The race director,
he is close enough now.
He has to back out of it.
I suspect the 50 car should be in either this lap or the next lap. We could have a little slow ride through the Porsche curves.
Yeah, you just want to see a fair fight, and that it's not his race. It's
here we go. Let's hear what Brendan thinks about this situation.
I'm really close now. I'm very close.
Yeah, copy. The car ahead will box this lap normally. The car ahead will box this lap even if he doesn't get out of the way.
Well, there you go. And I don't think it's going to, as they go around the number 33 car with Nicky Katzberg behind the wheel.
Imagine the penalties that would be coming car 50s went Nick Nielsen's way in Formula 1. Right, imagine doing this in an F1 race with a laps car and the blue flags. It's one thing in WEC that would often frustrate me as a driver. It'd be like, the blue flag's there. The blue flag needs to get out of the way of the lapping car.
Well, but I also think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think some of the blue flag stuff in Formula 1, while it's necessary for some of the cars, I think some of it's a little over. Why should you have to roll over and play dead? Especially if you're in a battle with somebody else. No, I mean, this is a classic case. He's not in a battle with anybody else.
No,
but if you're in a battle with somebody else, why should you have to roll over and play dead because Lewis is coming?
But no, yeah. Oh, you mean if you're a battling car with somebody else?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
The problem is, Jim, it's all to do with the aerodynamics.
Well, I understand.
It's just all to do with it, and just because you can't see the effect from the outside, it doesn't mean that it's not there. It is this invisible barrier, and it's, you start hemorrhaging downforce when you get even, within 3 seconds of the car in front. You can't believe how it feels. So I think that's why they are there. The engineers get involved and they're overly vocal and they're trying to make a point about it. But yeah, there's a time and place definitely. But most of the time, I think I stand by it. I think that it's you want it to be as pure as possible and as fair as possible.
You and I need to have a bottle of wine sometime. I don't disagree with you. But I think it's a little too
entertainment-wise. Yeah, let them fight.
Well, and I don't even think it's entertainment-wise. I think it's more, again, if you're battling for that last points-paying position, that's important to you.
Absolutely.
As a team, monetarily, and everything else. But that's not why we're here to talk about Formula One. We're here to talk about the race in hand, which is Brendan Hartley now less than 10 seconds behind our race leader. And in the American vernacular of what we call stick and ball sports, which is anything with car racing, when you can get that, if you're trying to come from behind, if you can get the number of points you're behind into single digits, it's very much. Yeah, it's very much a mind game, and it encourages. There you go, and there he is. Yeah, how far out is he? I can't see him. Well, now he can see him. How do you keep the red mist from coming in when you can see him?
Yeah, is it red car or is it red mist?
And the two front cars in the 27s, they are really, the pace is really hot, almost matching the fastest laps of the race.
Oh yeah, Joe Bernazzi is not hanging around.
No.
He's not lifted off, trying to save fuel, trying to save tires, trying to save the car. He is doing his best. We are now under 2 hours to the end of this race, and it is all to play for still. All to play for. Just 9 seconds separating our leaders in the overall category, the hypercar category. In LMP2, 27 seconds separates our leaders, and we still have in GTM 5 cars all on the lead lap. Now the Corvette has a substantial lead of 1 minute and 19 seconds, but any sort of issue on the racetrack, that lead will evaporate, and that will open the door for the Iron Dames, who are in second place, and or lead number 25, Aston Martin, who is in third. So with 2 hours to go, there's a look at the full running order. There you see that GTM battle down in 27th position.
It looks like the Garage 56 car is back on track again.
Yes, they've gone back out and some transmission issues. We've had 20 cars retire from the race, which is probably a little bit more than if I had been forced to pick a number before the race. I don't think I would have picked 20. Although with 62 entries, doesn't seem to me to be an overly large number. But I didn't think we'd see 20 retirements.
Yeah,
there's Charles Leclerc.
Hey, if you want to win this race, I'm feeling pretty fresh right now. I'm kind of light as well.
I got my helmet and boots out in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm pretty lean and light. Yeah, it's a bit of an advantage. Which, for those of you who don't know, the car has its weight within it in hypercar.
Yep.
At 1,030 kilogram minimum weight. It can be higher than that, obviously with the BOP adjustments. But that's the minimum weight target for all the cars. So you can't be under that. But the driver is just on top of whatever that weight is.
Oh, really? So a guy like me be out of luck.
Unfortunately. You get to the bar first, though, so what goes around comes around.
Okay, Brendan, box this lap, pit confirm, box this lap, change driver to duo.
Copy, pit confirm, copy, box the lap.
Alright, that's nice. They've got Seb there with Rio, helping him out, even getting ready, and sure giving him every bit of advice that he can give him. Rio doesn't need it, but nice to see that
Support,
that team
sister car as well.
Brendan's found himself in a bit of traffic here. He's completely boxed in. You're just waving goodbye to speed on the straight. It's the worst situation. You've got the GT there and the LMP2, and you're much faster. That's where the hypercar really makes its speed up on this track, the straight line. So, yeah, loses a bit there. The gap grows to back to 10 seconds now. Amazing stuff between these two.
Lead quartet in LMP2 have all just come and gone through the pit lane as well. We're starting to get into the nitty-gritty, aren't we? Where, as both of you guys will know, on the pit wall they know exactly how much fuel they need in the car now, how much they're going to need to get to the end of the race. 2 hours to go, 2 o'clock Central European time, 22 hours down. 2 hours to go. Hands up everybody who knows who's going to win this one. Yeah, us neither. Ferrari, Toyota, and just if something really screwy happens, maybe even Cadillac.
I was going to come out with a really cheesy comment there. But I know, the fans.
Yay, they win. Well, 100%, and also an awful lot more fans than may have watched it in the last few years, because of the influx of manufacturers into the hypercar class, the influx of competition, and particularly and especially the car that leads the race now, the F word, that we are allowed to say on air, Ferrari. That is going to bring eyes, has brought eyes, I'm sure, to Le Mans that have probably barely even heard of the race and have certainly never seen it. Brendan Hartley brings in the number 8 Toyota after a valiant quad stint. Rio Hirakawa will take over, the young Japanese driver who joined the team last season. And right now, this is Coke versus Pepsi. This is whoever blinks first loses this race. And right now, Toyota and Ferrari are trying desperately to think of a way of out-fumbling the other guy to gain some kind of material advantage. Because we've heard from drivers in both cars, it's just hearing from James Collada after his last stint, he said, there is nothing between us. They haven't got an advantage over us, we haven't got an advantage over them in the long run. Sometimes you're on fresher tyres, sometimes you've got a fresher driver, but the cars are pegged exactly as the rules had hoped to produce. This is the beginning of platinum era of sports car racing, and it features the biggest name in motor racing. Antonio Giovinazzi, most consonants, that Ferrari. But it does feature Antonio Giovinazzi, and what a time for this young driver to get into a top flight Ferrari program. Wow.
Yeah, so let's see how Ferrari play this one. And also, all eyes are on you, Rio Hirakawa. Now, if there's ever been a time to shine, this is your moment, boy.
To answer a question from somebody who said, I'm just woken up after watching them on. The only question I want to know is Rexy still racing? Answer, yes, Rexy is still racing.
On cue.
Right on cue, exactly. So that is the Project One AO Porsche, which has spent time in the lead. Trouble for the IDEC car that started on pole position. Left rear puncture, that will be from Davey probably rather than contact, and that car with Lawrence Herr at the wheel, a multiple winner here at Le Mans in LMP3 machinery road to Le Mans with the DKR engineering team. That car will creep back. It is actually on an out lap as well, so that is double pain for them.
Giovinazzi is just about to come up on that car.
And this is where you don't want a tyre to come off the car in front of the Ferrari.
It's also exactly the corner you were talking about earlier, Guy Smith. The corner you do not want to catch your car in the Porsche curves, because you're going to have a big accident if you run out on the loose.
Yeah, you can see how it really compromised his entry to the Porsche curves of turn 19. Had to go wide, get a little bit onto the marbles, and you've seen, like we said before, Guy, you're reading the body language of the other car, and you think, that LMP2 car, they're usually much faster than that. It's moving around a lot.
Yeah.
Just give that an extra wide berth.
Now then, inside the final 2 hours, these cars will need at least another 2 stops to make it to the finish. Toyota will stop earlier, meaning they will need more fuel, meaning they will spend a fraction more time stationary than Ferrari. And it's on those tiny little twists of fate through the race that sometimes very close decisions get made. Leader in. Antonio was only into the car last time round, so a couple of times they've topped up the pressurised oil system in the car. Some tension around the fuel rig. Just checking the tyre wells, getting rid of bits of build-up of tyre rubber in there. You don't want a big fist-sized piece shaking itself loose and attaching itself to your slick and then thumping its way round and round and round for lap after lap.
Seems like an eternity when you're sitting in the car, leading the race, and the fuel's going in.
And that man in the fuel helmet could be really critical at the end, because when they're going for a full tank, it's a full tank. When they're not, it's got to be to the 10th of a second. You don't want to put in a drop more than you absolutely have to, because this is going to probably be as close a top class finish in the real world as we have seen. I mean, this could be down to meters.
And in terms of Le Mans finishes, do we know what the closest one was?
We do. I think the closest real one still 1970. In 1969, when Jack Hughes ran across the track and walked across the track, refused to run, started last, won by meters. There is the spin from the punctured tyre. Well, that is a brand new set of tyres. He is on an outlap. It's the DKR engineering car.
They've been in the wars, these guys.
Yeah.
They've run a tough race.
It's been a torrid time. Charles Leclerc watching the action from the Ferrari garage. That's an unusual position for him, isn't it? To be in the Ferrari garage watching a race. He'd never be in a good mood normally if that was the case.
It's quite often the other way around, though. I see a lot of the wet Ferrari drivers at the F1 event. They work hard.
Okay, Joe, the gap is 16.0. The gap is 16.0. Let's hunt them down.
Again, really calm voice in the number 8 car's race engineer. There's been a change in their engineering setup. For years they've had a different engineer in the car, but this is working really well. There's the relevant positioning on this track. Antonio Fuoco in the number 50 Ferrari, was that 26 laps ago, set the new fastest race lap. So that car, although it's not on the lead lap, it's still going very quickly.
And a really good in-lap, that's brought the gap up to 16 seconds. Really good in-lap and a good stop.
Again, we've heard this all the way through, either with the 8 or the 51. Doing all the right jobs, you're hitting all the right numbers, excellent work, keep it up, you're going great. You know, and as a driver, what does that mean, you know, when because you are sort of isolated, you don't have all the data, you don't have the big picture inside the cockpit with you, unless you're really following somebody they're really behind you. You need that continual update of how things are progressing, right?
Yeah, when it's as close as this, you need all the information, because, you know, you need to know if you need to be pushing harder, if you are, you know, making inroads on them. So any information at this stage is super important.
Steph Redford in the pit lane. Steph, apart from it being hot and sunny, what's going on?
Well, I know the battle is super hot in Hypercar right now, but it's also going on in LMP2. The Panis, the 65 Panis Racing car.
Okay, so Cadillac coming your way. Tell us about Panis, the LMP2 car.
So this has had a battery issue and has actually been in the garage for quite some time. It's getting ready to go back out. A couple of garages down as well. There is an issue with the 39 gravel car. It looks like front right axle damage, but it seems like they're immediately heading back out. Tyres are going back on the car, and they should be running very soon.
Okay, one of your colleagues in the pit lane wearing a suit, white suit for L'Equipe, is the wife of driver Patrick Pilet of the 39 Grand Racing cars. Undoubtedly they will have an inside line onto what's going on with that car as well. You can see Earl Bamber waiting to take over the number 2 caddy, former race winner for Porsche in Le Mans, and the number 2 car, his teammate Richard Westbrook has that in 3rd place. First time at Le Mans with this programme, first time at Le Mans with the Cadillac Racing organisation for GM Racing Chief Laura Wontrop-Clauser, and if they can pull off that result here for Chip Ganassi and all of the team, that's going to be an enormous result. You know, you look at guys like Chip Ganassi and Roger Penske and the big names in US racing. They don't just race in single-seaters, in IndyCar, they don't just race in NASCAR, they race in the IMSA WeatherTech series as well. And you know that they know the weight and the gravitas of Le Mans, and you know that they want to win it. And here's the first chance they've had in half a lifetime to come and do so on an equal footing with the same machinery. And look how well they've stepped up to the plate. The Porsche Penske crews, the Cadillac Racing crews have been right in there swinging from the moment they arrived.
Comes in, stops in the pit box. Earl Bamber didn't bring up, getting ready. This driver change with Richard Westbrook. See, just unplugging. This driver helmet cooler in that car. He's having a drink there, so he's staying in.
So Earl was ready in case he decided he would get out. He's obviously going for another stint. So all number 3 going very slowly. The only luck this car has had is bad luck. Now, what happened there? Has he had a little moment, or did the car need a bit of a reset? Again, Sebastian Bourdais at the wheel. This car set light to itself. Not in a major way, but no fire in a race car is ever trivial because there's so much wiring that is potentially going to get damaged. That was in hyperpole. Didn't get to set a lap, or not a fast enough lap. That's
that wide in Arnage.
Yeah, possible. It looked like recovering from a moment. Arnage maybe just gathering all out of Indianapolis. No rattling from underneath the car, but then the stones will probably be long gone.
Getting diving to the pits, and he's back up to full racing speed.
Either a transit van or the Garage 56 NASCAR going into the pit lane in front of him. Is that car running again? No, it's still in the garage, so I'm not sure quite what that was. Oh, and there's the trouble. There is trouble. That is Arnage. Is there fluid down there?
He's been hit in the rear, look.
He has been hit, or has he?
Hit him on the rear.
Or
he's hit the rear.
Oh my goodness, Ryo Hirakawa. And now again, forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. He does not want to put the car in the gravel. He's missed the terra firma. He has been off backwards. Where's he been?
Well, we heard the information getting relayed to him via Hartley, didn't we, about that very corner, saying watch out for the rear because it's tricky.
That wasn't the Cadillac avoiding the stationary Toyota.
No, but that was down at Arnage, where we saw them recovering Bourdais. That was coming out of Arnage before Porsche curve, so this is a separate something that's only just happened. I saw the here we go.
Just locked the rear brakes.
It is the rear, so it is Arnage, but it was the rear.
Oh.
That's exactly
the front and the rear off the barriers.
That's exactly what Hartley was talking about, so...
Cadillac's up to second. We saw when the car stopped, did it have 3 marker lights on or 2? Charles Leclerc. You know, this is where you cannot let your emotions take it all away from you. You know, you've both been in a situation where you're getting close and you're getting closer and you're getting closer. Don't lose focus on what you're doing, because that's when it all comes unstitched. Let's hear from the Toyota.
Okay, your box.
Yep.
That's not how I thought it was going to come to an end, Toyota's challenge today. No. 16 seconds behind. He was keeping the gap around 16 seconds, but clearly driving so hard to maintain that gap. And exactly as predicted. I think they've been struggling with the rear brakes, something with that car from very, very early on in this race, and they've been managing it well.
Been chasing the balance a lot.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of conversations, more front, more roll bar, less roll bar, changes made, changes reversed as the track has changed. And again, we talked about this earlier, the same may well have been going on, Guy, with the Ferrari team. We're just not hearing every message from every car, so it may be that some of theirs haven't been relayed on air, and they may have been doing similar work.
Yeah, the number 8 car, the radio traffic has been pretty busy, hasn't it, back and forth. So they've just been struggling with the balance pretty much for the second half of this race. But they've done a good job to keep the Ferrari in striking distance. But yeah, it's a real shame for Raya there.
Now, number 2 caddy on an out lap. Richard Westbrook still at the wheel. You saw Earl Bamber watching the monitors. So it's on the same lap as the number 8 Toyota, but it has not yet passed it, so it is not yet up to second place. But there's Earl wondering what might happen. And there is the number 2 car, still showing 3 red lights on the side. Red is the colour behind the car. That's the backing number on the illuminated panels on the nose and on the doors. 3, of course, means it's in 3rd place. 2 in 2nd place. Rear Hero car will rejoin. Fresh nose, fresh tail, and hopefully nothing damaged in between. But the caddy is on the lead lap. We now have 3 cars on the lead lap and an hour and 40 minutes to go. So a 3-car Grand Prix with the field spread out at Davidson. This could be highly entertaining.
Yeah, it's just like I said, though, it wasn't what I expected. The team have done well to turn that car around, but yeah, bitterly disappointing for Rio. Let's see what he says.
Okay, gap back to the Cadillac is 3 minutes and 18 seconds. 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes. We're okay.
So rather than the attention being forwards, it's now shifted to who's behind, and that in itself is very telling.
But you know, that's damage management. That's making sure he knows he's not under attack from behind. Get your head down, get up to speed, go get the leader.
Did you see in the background that shot? You had Kamui Kobayashi chatting with Pascal Vasselon in the back of the garage, just, you know, mimicking the oversteer moment with the brakes, and Pascal nodding along.
Hey man, the Toyota just left pit lane, so he is almost a lap down. Again, no risk, no risk.
And that again is a critical damage limitation message. In fact, excuse me, as the 51 car comes out of the chicane, there he is. The car in front of him is the number 8 Toyota. And we talked when you're hunting, we heard Brendan Hartley going, what's the gap? Where is he? Because he'd lost, in a change of pit stops, he'd lost visual contact with the Ferrari in front. Now, Giovinazzi has eyes on the 2nd place car. Just pace yourself with him. Make him do the work. Don't overthink it. Just relax and breathe into the rhythm.
He doesn't have to think about the car in front of him. He doesn't think about Hirakawa. This is the best radio message he could ever wish to hear. You're almost a lap ahead. Just sail it home. An hour and a half to go. Don't do no heroics. He doesn't have to care about the car in front. Just bring this thing home.
And that certainly takes some of the fuel equations out of the picture, because they've got a little margin in terms of time. So if they need to spend time doing a splash and Toyota doesn't, then they're good.
Both
the other
those
factors
teams, so both those teams were pushing as hard as they could. That's what was so enjoyable about it. You mentioned at the time, Guy, that look at their lap times compared to anyone else. They've elevated themselves. They had elevated themselves to a whole new plane. And something was going to give, something was going to crack.
But Giovinazzi can't relax now, because he, once you switch off, you relax. That's when the mistakes can creep in, so you've got to keep the focus. But then you start to listen to the car, every gear shift. What was that noise? It's tricky.
Let's get down to the pit lane and see what the temperature is among some of our contenders.
I'm with driver of the number 2 Cadillac, Bamber. It's been a good race for you guys so far. As you know, it's not over until it's over, is it?
No, I mean, it's been a wild race. We had a really good start. We led some laps, the first ever laps here for Cadillac Racing in Le Mans, so that was kind of proud. And then we had the rain and the night. You saw a lot of incidents, a lot of cars crash out, but we've managed to survive. And still 2 hours to go, and it's still 1/3 of a normal WEC race, and we see what madness happens in that. So, yeah, we just saw the Toyota have an issue. We can have our own issues. So, trying to hold on there for that podium position.
And you guys are on the lead lap now. Is there any chance of you guys surpassing Toyota? We saw what happened to them.
No, I mean, I think they're throwing the Toyota's got a little bit more pace than us. But I'm going to jump in for the last 2 cents.
All right, well, good luck.
We'll see where we end up at the end of this. It's been a crazy race. The guys behind me have done a fantastic job. You know, Cadillac's done an amazing job to develop the car in the last 18 months to go right here and, you know, to lead and to be fighting is great.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back in the car. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph Wentworth. Thank you, Bamber. Yeah, they're not getting their hopes up too much. The Garage 56 entry still on the pit apron, but it's out of the garage now. Mike Rockefeller in the Henrik Motorsport Camaro. There it is. Looks like their transmission swap fix has been made, and they are ready to go back out. Out too comes the 93 Peugeot. This car currently in 9th place in the hypercar class, 9th overall. There's Paul Di Resta watching intently from the garage. Peugeot disappointing in qualifying. They didn't manage to find the pace they wanted to get anywhere in the hyperpole shootout. But as soon as the race came, the car really came alive and showed the potential that it had shown in free practice. And unfortunately, incidents robbed them of a chance to challenge for the podium. But it's been a leader, as is Cadillac, as is Porsche, as is Ferrari, as is Toyota. I think the only brands not to have led have been Glickenhaus and the Vanwall. So all of the other main hitters in the hypercar class have been pretty much there on pace, and a number of the Porsches have led the race, both Toyotas, both Ferraris at one stage or another. One factor that has helped keep the hypercars together, the LMP2s together, and the GT7s together, particularly when the weather was vile, is the new set of safety car regulations, where the 3 safety cars that we've used for a decade and more here at Le Mans are all scrambled to bring the field under control, and then once the major incident that's required a safety car is fixed, they all merge into one queue, all the cars merge into one queue, then they're waved around. Anybody who is in the queue ahead of their class leader gets to go around and join the back of the queue, and then all 3 classes are organised in terms of speed. So the hypercars at the front, LMP2s in the middle, and the GTEs at the back. And that's helped keep the racing alive. It's stopped people losing laps unnecessarily just because of the quibbles, the foibles of fate, and where you get stuck in the safety car queues. Now that could also bring our field back together if we get a safety car in the next half an hour, because in the final 60 minutes of the race, if there is a safety car, we will not have the merge, we will not have the wave around, we will not have the drop back. So we will go with 3 safety cars, because it will take a good couple of laps to merge and drop everybody back after the danger has been passed. So that can no longer take effect after we get into the beginning of the final hour. Nicky Katzberg on board the 33 Corvette, and he will do the final 90 minutes in that car. There is the current challenger in 3rd place, Rahal Frey in the Iron Dames Porsche. They've been in the lead battle, and Rexy, the Project One T-Rex livery Porsche, up to 2nd place with the Corvette of Nicky Katzberg, retains the lead after that pit stop. And the Oman Racing TF Sport Aston Martin, that's the orange car in the background of the shot, that's 4th place. So we're looking at the gap there between Matteo Cairoli in Rexy and the Iron Dames Porsche. There's the challenge though, the ORT by TF Sport. Charlie Eastwood, driven Aston Martin, is the challenger for the final podium spot. Ronald Frey needs to keep that gap alive.
Yeah, Charlie Eastwood's been absolutely flying all race long in that car. Slowly catching the whole time. Good graphics there at the bottom of the screen. Put in an absolutely brilliant stint during the night. You can see the bodywork still all skewed as it's taken a bit of damage at some point. Certainly not affecting the performance that much for Charlie.
Yeah, he's probably finding the extra few tenths in himself that might be robbed by that. The only slight issue when the aerodynamics or the bodywork moves is the aerodynamics move, and things like where the low pressure areas that help suck the hot air from out under the bonnet, if that disappears, then you start to run problems with overheating, because although you're going through the air at the same speed, if the air is trying to be rammed in by the movement of the car but can't escape significantly, then you stall the air in the radiators, and if air is supplying in the radiators, these cars don't have auxiliary fans, so you run the risk of getting into an overheating problem. So the TF Sport team watching there, ORT by TF Sport, Le Mans Racing Team. Pole Citizen Spa, last time out, looking for a first podium here at Le Mans for an Omani driver. Ahmed Al Harti is the key to that programme. Young man from Oman.
Harti had a pole position, didn't he? Took a fine pole.
That was in Spa.
Yeah.
We were setting up the Ben Keating Sarah Bodie battle, and then boom, there he was.
Watch this.
Quick as he liked, absolutely. Didn't quite find that pace here at Le Mans, but nevertheless, the car has been very resilient in the race. In fact, the only TF Sport car that has not been a right nut of pain all the way through. It's the only car remaining in the race out of 3 Aston Martins and an LMP2 car that they started. And he is closing little by little on Rahel Frey. So the Swiss driver in the pink car has to hang on, stay ahead. Ultimately Charlie Eastwood. Iron Links, Iron Dames garage. The Iron Links car, yellow car of Claudio Schiavone, out yesterday at the daylight hours with an accident. Claudio, key behind a lot of this Iron Links programme. It's run by Cheney brothers, they're the joint team managers. So it is, back out to the pit lane. Well, my prediction was it will finish 19th. It's currently 39th, so I was even further away than Matt Davidson, who reckoned 29th. And it was jubilant for about 2 laps when it moved from 30th to 29th, only for them to move up to 28th.
You mentioned the issue for Panis racing.
We had a brief talk about Panis. What else do you know?
It's a master switch on the starter motor.
That is not what we definitely did not get that in. So the master switch on the starter motor. Can't start the car, which means you don't stop it, which means it's fast.
It's the same issue for since you got pretty free the operators as well. It's obviously no fault.
That helmet, that Panis helmet's not bringing in much luck, is it?
No, not really. I'd have brought him a few smiles from the boss, but was that the one where they